So let's say you're out on your motorcycle and things suddenly go really, really wrong. And we're not talking like I crashed a little and got a little scraped up, but serious injured wrong. Well, on the first weekend of rally of 2019, we got a taste of exactly that. It was a rider down situation twice. So what happened, and more importantly, everybody crashes sometimes, so what's the plan when something like this inevitably happens? Well, everything started pretty normally for a schooling rally.
Donovan was on a brand new 701, and his brother Cody rocked a KTM 690. Their friend Matt was on Donovan's FE 450, and Tim and Griffin, father and son from Arizona, sported Mata WR 250Rs. Iden flew to Arizona from Texas to bring up his KLX 250, and Dan was on a big blue BMW F800 GS, which he handled like a champ. We were all in good spirits, the weather was gorgeous, and the red trails seemed to call us by name.
It wasn't long into the drills before our first mishap when Donovan had a low-speed tip over and just kind of landed on his shoulder run. And when there's an injury, I'm less interested in getting the aftermath on camera and more interested in making sure the rider is taken care of. So forgive me for the lack of footage on this part. Long story short, a quick message on the inReach and the backup truck was on the way to pick up Donovan and his FE 450 because he left his 701 for Matt to ride.
Now here's the thing, Donovan isn't the first to fall over on these tight figure 8 turns. The fact of these tight turns is that you're probably not pushing yourself hard enough if you don't tip over once or twice. It's like anything off-road on a dual sport. You push yourself until you fall over, and then you work on whatever made you fall over. So to me, the figure 8 is the mother of all off-road drills. You make tighter and tighter turns as slowly as possible, and then accelerate as quickly as you can in the straights, brake as quickly as you can for the next turn, and do this until you really start to get confident on the bike. And whether sitting or standing, you have to practice clutch control, balance, massive body positioning changes, looking through your turns, throttle control, braking, skidding, controlled sliding, and more often than not, commando rolls and picking up the bike when you fall over.
The drills are a pretty good time, but what's better is how riders' confidence on the bike changes after the drills, because the real fun is had on the trails afterward.
The group was feeling confident, and when I laid out the trail options for them, they chose the harder path every time. Loose, rocky riverbeds like this are generally shred rally stuff, but the guys were chomping at the bit for something a little more technical than a dirt road or a hard-packed double track.
Nice. It was getting late in the day when we stopped for a breather, and I realized I didn't have any drone footage yet. So I asked the guys if they wanted to get a bit of aerial footage while half rested, and it was a go. And that is where the cameras stopped rolling that day. Even on my tiny little phone screen, I could see that Matt was not in good shape, so I landed the drone as quickly as I could and completely forgot to turn off the camera and went into full-on rescue mode. And you can see a bit from Aiden's footage that there's a left turn after this crest, and if you miss that left turn, there's a deep trench just waiting to swallow you whole. Well, Matt took the crest just a little too hot, and you can see from the footage that he was just taken off guard by the blind turn after the crest, and that's a mistake that we've all made.
I bolted to where Matt had crashed, where Cody was keeping him stable by placing some rocks under Matt's helmet. And when I arrived, Matt had just started breathing again. That's how hard he hit. And surprisingly, it wasn't really long until he was sitting up a little bit and cracking jokes and smiling. He was still in a lot of pain, so we did our best to help him get comfortable while minimizing movement, and I called for my wife to bring the truck back with the inReach. While we waited, Matt seemed to be doing pretty well, and I thought he might even get up and walk it off, but after he tried moving his leg and felt some massive pain, we all knew there was something much bigger going on.
While Matt laid there keeping us calm with jokes and smiles as we waited for Jess, I noticed blood dripping from his boot, and there were no punctures on the outside of the boot, so that only meant one thing: a compound fracture. I knew that cell service was just a mile or two away, so I jumped on the Black Widow and rode as fast as I could to where I knew I could get a signal. With the inReach message I sent earlier, I needed to confirm that my wife got the recent message and didn't think it was a duplicate from Donovan's spill early in the day. And as the day's luck would have it, about 300 yards from where Matt crashed, I went over a blind crest of my own, and there was a 4-foot deep and 4-foot wide washout waiting for me. And I knew I'd crashed really hard, but my mind was on getting help from Matt, so I jumped back on the bike and continued racing down the road, even though the bars were twisted about 30 degrees to the right.
When I got into cell service, I thought about calling search and rescue, but Matt's condition didn't seem to be life-threatening. He wasn't showing any obvious signs of shock, and in any case, if Jess had already received the message, she would arrive much sooner than the EMTs anyway. He had crashed in an area that was accessible by our truck, so that seemed like the best option. And when I learned that Jess was indeed on her way and getting closer, I could breathe a little easier. So I aligned my handlebars BMX bike style and rode back to the group.
And on the way, the adrenaline started to kind of fade a little bit, and I've broken enough ribs to know exactly how that feels, and enough times to know that going to the hospital for broken ribs gets you nothing but an x-ray confirmation of your pain and a bill for $900. Anyway, Jess arrived, and we very carefully loaded Matt into the truck, and then she was off to the ER. The rest of us made our way home, where Cody and I quickly changed and headed to the hospital with Donovan. It ended up that Matt was in worse shape than we had thought. We knew he had a compound fracture, but it was both his tibia and fibula.
He had surgery that night with plates and rods and screws in his leg, and during some scans they also found that he had torn most of the ligaments in his back and had broken a vertebrae.
Among other things, he'd broken a few ribs and chipped some teeth, and just recently he found out that he'd broken his other leg too, just below the knee, but it was so overshadowed by all the other injuries that nobody paid attention to it.
So he went in surgery again to install more rods and screws in his spine this time. And despite that, the next time I saw him, he was smiling and walking with his physical therapist in the hospital, albeit slowly, but still walking, and more importantly, still smiling.
So Matt is a detective from where I grew up, so he's already hero status in my book. And as I met Matt's wife and his mom and heard about the other stuff that he's been through and how he's just this awesome dad and all kinds of really good stuff about him, and just to see how positive he's been as he's been through all these hardships, including this one, I wish I could convey to you how positive Matt has been. I mean, I go in to visit him, and even with both of our broken ribs, we'd both just be laughing and in so much pain, but he's just a guy that exudes happiness and can smile through anything. So I wanted to put together a GoFundMe for him, but since he's such a positive influence in his own neighborhood and in his church and in this community, his neighbors beat me to it, and they contributed quite a bit already, but unfortunately, he's still way behind because he's still got a pretty high deductible, he can't do much police work in the state that he's in, and he's going to be in physical therapy for a few months. So I want to help him out in a big way, but after matching the clean water for Africa donations from last year, which you guys very generously maxed out, I don't have a lot of cash on hand.
But I have an idea. I'm going to do a giveaway. Actually, I can't really call it a giveaway for legal reasons, so I'll call it a random fun time. Maybe I send you some stuff if you help a good guy out thing.
So here's the deal. In Police Code 1033 is the code that an officer needs assistance. So I'm going to look on Matt's GoFundMe page for people who donate in increments of $33. So $33 is 1 entry, 66 would be 2 entry, 99 would be 3 entries. You get it.
So I'd imagine a couple thousand people will watch this video. And if we can get just 33 of those people to donate $33 on his GoFundMe, I'll send one of those people the brand new Trail Tech Voyager Pro, which I've been testing on my DRZ for a while, and it's awesome.
Now if we can get 66 people to donate $33, then I'll send out the brand new Trail Tech Voyager Pro and randomly pick a donor to come here for a free weekend at rally.
And if we get 99 people to donate $33, then I'll send the Voyager Pro and give away 2 Weekender rallies. So a lot of people don't really know what these Weekender rallies are. Well, it means that you come to Southwest Utah for an epic weekend of off-road riding in one of the world's greatest dual sport playgrounds. I'll pay for all of your food at the best local restaurants, your lodging, headset rental, and a bunch of different swag like t-shirts and stickers and keychains and even some earbuds that you'll use with your headset. And plus I'll film you on some of the most glorious trails in southern Utah. So think about it this way, if you saw a rider hurt at the side of the trail, you'd stop to help him out, right? So here's an opportunity for you to help Matt and possibly help yourselves to a Trail Tech Voyager Pro or a weekend of legendary riding in Southwest Utah. Now there's a link with a lot more info about the rallies in the description, and I'll put a direct link to Matt's GoFundMe there too. And I'll have more details about that soon. But remember, you've got to donate in an increment of $33 so that I can look at that GoFundMe and know who's in the running for the Voyager Pro and for the rallies and who isn't. And Matt, if you're watching this, I'm sending a big fist bump and a man hug your way, because when you get back on 2 wheels, you and Cody and Donovan are going to come back down here and we're going to do it right next time. So much love, you guys. eveRide out.